Welcome to another episode of The Wealth Defenders with Terry Cox. He's got nearly 20 years of money management experience, and he wants to make that experience work for you and help you get your money right so you can have the retirement that you've always dreamed about. Consumer advocate Bruce Rosenblum here with you as well. Terry, great to see you again.
You as well, my friend. How have you been?
I have been wonderful, and we got a wonderful show in store for the viewers out here today. We're talking about reasons to continue investing after retirement. And Terry, we talked about this before. We talked about how people are, they're living longer. So with that in mind, you got to really account for a longer retirement timeline. Isn't that correct?
Yes. People are living into their 80s, their 90s. Some cases, they're hitting that century mark. Yep. So that puts a whole new spin on retirement, depending on, let's say you retire at 65 and you live till 95, that's a third of your life in retirement.
It's a long time. And I don't think anybody wants to have to go back to work. I mean, isn't that the worst case scenario? You've failed to plan and you find out, oh my God, I can't stop working. I got to keep working. That's right.
Ooh. And that's why you're always going to need to have a growth component in your portfolio, even after you retire. Sometimes people think once that they retire, that's the finish line, and they can just go on a spending plan. Well, they still need to budget because you might have that longevity bug, and you might have a long retirement window.
See, longevity, that's the key word there. And I love what you said about thinking about this. It's not the finish line. Retirement is not the finish line. Right. And I think if you get it in your head that the game goes past retirement, then you're going to really play all the way to the end. And that's the takeaway here.
Yes, because if you kind of look at the timeline of when you first start investing until you get into retirement, early on, you're going to be heavily in stocks and not so much in income or bonds or anything like that. You might have 100% stock portfolio early on in your life. But as you get closer to retirement, you're going to need two things. You're going to need some income and you're going to need some more growth. Because even though you made it to retirement, that doesn't mean inflation's going to retire. Doesn't mean taxes are going to retire. Those are still going to be hanging over your head, and we're still going to have to deal with those. So we're still going to need some growth in the portfolio.
So in other words, you can't just buy and hold. The days of buying that blue chip stock and hanging on to it and thinking that a couple shares of IBM are going to carry you through, that is not the deal anymore.
Yeah, for the most part, that is not the deal because there's so many factors that, you could have a long-term care event. You could be in an accident, heaven forbid.
Right.
So there's so many things that could happen that could cause you to erode the portfolio a little quicker than you're anticipating. Sometimes people say, okay, I'm going to spend, X number of dollars a year in retirement, out of my savings. Well, if you have one of these events that happen and you're spending twice that's not a good scenario.
Not at all. And it seems like it's getting harder and harder to plan here and to keep your head above water. I mean, I know you meet with people all the time, but would you say it's actually harder to retire now than it was in the past?
I think there's more to think about these days because when we sat down with our clients and we started asking them about their retirement plans and about their dreams, what do they want to, we look at things like long-term care plans, income annuities or dividend paying stocks or whatever the case may be that we can, because by and large there's two things that I want to cover with my clients before they get into retirement. Number one, let's make sure your income needs are met, what you're going to need on a monthly basis, but the rest of the portfolio is still going to need to grow because things aren't getting cheaper. We talked a little bit an episode or two ago about the rule of 72.
Yes.
And we talked about the rule of 72 as far as growing your portfolio. Well, you can also plug that in to inflation. How much more are things going to be in the future? So it's realistic that things could double in price in the next 10 to 20 years. And if you have a 20 to 30 year retirement, that could be a problem. So that growth element has to be there. And we have a number of clients who actually paid more for their last car than they did their first house. So when you think about that,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So that
It really, it's astronomical. I mean, what you just said, it makes me think of my landlord. He
Mhm.
bought his house in the 70s for about 70K, and
Mhm.
now that same house is worth 700K. So
There you go.
what you said about the prices going up, it is so true. Inflation and everything else, we got to keep that at the forefront of our minds when it comes to all this stuff, because man, it's serious business.
Yeah. And a lot of times on the show we talk about the initial consultation that we have with folks and then trying to
Mm.
but our consultations don't stop there. I'll give you kind of our minimum parameters. I like to talk with my clients every quarter,
Mm.
at least on the telephone, and then every year I like to have them in the office for a sit down and just review
Right.
everything. Because as you move along, things change. When you think about when you get out of college and you have your first job, and then you
Right,
get
right.
married, and then you buy a house, and then you have a kid or maybe two kids, and things start happening. Maybe you change jobs and you've got an old 401k plan. So those conversations are very vital as
Yep.
we're going along, and that's why I like to be a hands-on advisor and have that kind of communication level, because I know your life is going to change. My life has certainly changed over the last 30 or 40 years. Yours is going to change. And sometimes we can make those adjustments in real time in your portfolio just to make sure we're not missing anything.
Yeah, it seems like the big takeaway here, this is not a set it and forget it kind of deal here. You got to really keep up with what's happening and
Right.
make corrections so that you can have the best possible returns. Because otherwise, I mean, you're leaving money on the table.
You're leaving money on the table. Yeah. And, I know that like robo advising is becoming
Oh,
a
yeah.
big thing. But the challenge with having a robo advisor is it doesn't know and it doesn't know the changes that happen in your life. And
Right.
because anything can happen. I mean, beneficiaries can change. You move. I mean, sometimes people think that just because they moved and updating their mailing address is not a big deal. It's kind of a big deal, especially with information flowing, because sometimes assets that you own, they have information that they mail out periodically. So you want to make sure that you have that, and then just make sure that any changes in your life, let's see how it's going to affect the portfolio.
See, that's it. The takeaway, don't rely on the machines. I mean, they can't tuck you in at night. They can't love you.
That's right. That's right.
They cannot, do a bespoke plan for you because they can't think yet. Well, yet is the key word there. But I want to go back real quick to the rule of 72, because we might have some viewers out there that did not see the last episode. Terry, tell us a bit about the rule of 72. What is that rule?
So it's a rule that's very simple, and it's a way to kind of gauge the growth element of your portfolio. So if you take the number 72 and you divide into it your average rate of return, let's say it's 7% here for easy math. So 7 into 72, the answer 10.2 represents the number of years it takes your portfolio to double.
Okay.
So when you're looking at, let's say you're working with an advisor now and you're trying to figure out how you've done over the years, that's kind of a good way to start. And then that way you know if you need to kind of make any adjustments one way or the other.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know that. So, talking about reasons to continue investing after retirement here on the program here, we've mentioned longevity. People are living longer, so they got to think about playing all the way to the end, whenever that may be. We talked about inflation a bit and how prices are rising, so you got to account for that and how it's going to be harder to buy things in the future. Let's talk about unexpected expenses and unforeseen circumstances, because as we know, things can happen when you least expect them, and you got to have a plan for that.
That's right. That's right. We mentioned earlier about a long-term care event. What happens if you can't perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living?
Ooh.
Yeah, that could create a problem. But then, I mean, it doesn't have to be that heavy. It could be something as minor as, the water heater breaks or the roof's leaking and you got to replace the roof. If that's not in the budget for that year, or that could create a problem, especially if you have a specific spending plan. Let's say you're spending whatever 4% out of your portfolio every year, and all of a sudden something like that crops up. And now maybe you, instead of spending 4%, you spent 8%. Well, that's going to affect the portfolio. And that's then when we can readjust things in your portfolio, because it's not a set it and forget it type of thing. So if we need to rebalance your portfolio, says, hey, we had to take some extra cash out this year. Where can we go to plug something in to try to grow that money back over the next couple, 3-4 years?
And do you find that clients kind of gloss over this part of the plan? Because it seems like a lot of people think about money, but they don't think about putting it in this particular place here.
Yes, because when we talk about retirement and when we talk about our dreams, everything is happy, right? We're gonna buy the new car. We're going on the cruise. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Oh no, I need a new roof. Wasn't expecting that.
Right.
So we have these conversations, with all of our clients throughout the course of the year. That's why you rebalance portfolios. Sometimes you might get some accelerated growth that you need to go ahead and capture. Maybe you're a little light on the income side, and we can move some things around. But maybe we're building out buckets that not only have your income and your growth, but maybe something for emergencies. So we can always plug something in that bucket too.
Okay, got it. So you got to keep investing because there might be emergencies, and you got to have a plan to handle those things as they come up. But what about the legacy aspect of things? Because I know that some people want to leave money to their kids, some don't. How should people be approaching this here?
Again, that's very personal. Some people, they want to leave money. I have clients that say, I'm not leaving anything. I'm going to spend it all.
Nothing.
Yeah. But, sometimes the kids grow up and they get great jobs and they have great careers, but they still want to leave something. Maybe it's a college savings plan to a grandchild or something like that. But in some cases,
nice gesture.
Yeah, it's a very nice gesture. And in some cases, if let's say somebody we got to retirement with not really as much as they were planning on, but they still want to leave some kind of a legacy, that's when you can plug in an insurance policy that carries a death benefit, so that if you pass, at least you've got something to leave to your children or your charity or whatever the case may be.
And getting those benefits, is it a difficult process?
No, it's not that difficult. It's not easy. It's not like you just apply for it and here it is. You've got to go through underwriting and things like that. So there's a little bit of a lag time. So depending on how you come through underwriting is going to kind of dictate A, what you're paying on your premiums, or B, what your death benefit that you're actually able to carry.
See, the reason I ask is because it seems like you could do this stuff on your own, but then you blow time, you blow effort. It's like when you take your car to the mechanic, they're going to fix it up right, and you're not having to do it yourself, watching YouTube videos and buying the tools. You lose time.
Right.
You're paying for that peace of mind, and
yes,
that's a big component of this whole deal too.
Oh, sure it is. Because so the relationship is everything. Once you start working with someone and you've got that relationship established, it's almost like a family vibe kind of thing. Because, if something happens in their life, they want to make sure that they're updating us on our end. And sometimes there's great opportunity on our end that we can give you a call and say, hey, Bruce, here's a great opportunity to slide into your portfolio, and this is how we can get it in there. So, yeah. So the relationship portion is huge.
So you will actively continue to follow up with clients with strategies they can use to come out even better than before.
Yes. So, we've talked a little bit in the past about the tool that we use in the office, the asset map. Once we start working with people and we know what they have, we also know what they don't have. So then we have those conversations about, well, this component, do you want it? Does that make sense for you or not? And if they still want it, we leave that tile in place. If not, we remove it. And then that way, we're just not making random calls to clients and say, hey, this is going on today. This is what I think you should stick in your portfolio. No, everything is going to be strategic for you and your plan and what you're trying to get accomplished.
Well, I know we got some viewers out there that have questions about this, and they might want an access map of their own, and they can get in touch with you, can't they?
Yes, they can call the number. They can visit our website, tdc.financial, www.tdc.financial. There's more resources on the website if you're interested in anything there. But whenever you're ready, give us a call. We set some time aside every week for our viewers and our listeners that want to have that initial conversation, and it's very important. And we make that a no cost, no obligation, and let's see how we fit. Let's see if we get along or not.
It's a pretty good deal to me. No cost, no obligation. Information on the screen. Check that out if you're the least bit interested. Also, like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast, The Wealth Defenders, here on YouTube. We're providing a premium advice every week so that you can get your money working right. Anything you want to add, Terry?
No, we appreciate the viewers' time every week, as always, and feel free to visit the website. And if you think the time is right, give us a call. Let's have our conversation and see how we do.
Another fantastic episode of The Wealth Defenders. We are signing out. We will see you next week. Take care.
See ya.
Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as complete analysis of subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Encompass More Asset Management is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC does not imply a certain level of skill or training.